This morning we're still on the road, Route 66. This morning we're pulling off at the book of Ecclesiastes. I've entitled this sermon, The Truth About Hospitals. You've been wanting to know. This morning I tell all. I really have to start off saying, I like hospitals. I was born in one. I caught my first glimpse of my baby sister in one. My children were all born in good hospitals. Not too many years ago, my heart was restarted in a world-class local hospital. I like hospitals. But I have come to one conclusion. A hospital is a microcosm of the world. Yeah, that's right. A hospital is just like the world outside, only on a smaller scale. I mean, on the surface, a hospital appears to be a really great place. The sheets are clean, the staff is friendly, the nurses offer those pre-warmed blankets, physician assistants come and go with warm smiles, and doctors make visits with most all of the answers. And family and friends, they will visit and bring colorful flowers and those friendly words. I like hospitals. And if you're honored to be asked to spend an evening at the hospital, someone on the staff will provide you a toothbrush and the ever-present small plastic pitcher of water. But there's more. The receptionist at the information desk, they will almost always say hi as you pass by. And the coffee kiosk people who serve good coffee will often do it with a smile. And the volunteers that wear those brightly colored smocks, they're friendly and pleasant, especially those who offer free rides in wheelchairs. And if you take the time to drop in on the hospital's gift shop, you will most always receive a warm welcome and a good response to your needs. But there's more in going to a hospital than that. Along with all of the smiles and the efforts to make you comfortable, there is the bonus, the diversion device, the TV. Yes, with that bed-corded remote, you can leave your hospital room anytime you'd like. You can, say, turn to the travel channel and say, go to Tuscany or Paris. Hospitals, with all of their smiles, their proficiency, and the distraction. You know, I've been to some 4-star resorts that don't offer any better treatment. You know, you could almost forget when you're in a hospital where you are. In fact, if it were not for those indisguisable reminders, I think you could forget. But just about the time when you're getting comfortable with your surroundings in the hospital, a call comes for code blue. Or maybe you see 911 emergency paramedics rushing an automatic rolling stretcher toward the emergency room door. Or maybe you hear the beating air sound of a flight for life helicopter. And then the reminder is swift and it's serious. This is a hospital. And as the sermon states, I'm going to tell the truth today, the sole function of a hospital is to bargain with death. And that fountain out front can't shoot high enough. And the furniture in the lobby can't be new enough. And the meals served on those little plastic trays can't be tasty enough to hide the stark reality at the bottom line that people go to hospitals to offer all they have to postpone the inevitable. We merely delay the unavoidable. We defer the inescapable. Now, professionals, and we have them in this room, professionals give it their best shot. Hospitals have the best technology, the best minds. They have the best equipment, and they have the best researchers. But at best, you walk away with a postponement of the inevitable without a solution. And though I think we might enjoy being wheeled around by candy stripers and allowed to take home those cool little socks with the grippies on the bottom, deep down we know that it's just a matter of time before the best that they have won't be enough and we will, well, life's enemy will overcome us. I think a hospital is a contradictory place. A place where the reality is hidden, and yet it can't be hidden because it's too real. I've got a question for you this morning. It's been on my heart all week. Do you know of anyone who is not aged? Do you know of anyone who is not aged? Some of you are going like this. Do you know of anyone who will look younger in our forthcoming pictorial directory than when they first started attending Arlington? Aging is a universal condition, but the way sometimes that we hide it, you'd think that maybe it was a virus. We're all aging. Hello? You know, the effects. We cover it up, we color over it, we replace it with something, or sometimes we transplant it for. All to hide what we already know. We're all getting older. And we really don't like to talk about aging, but it isn't half the conversational killer that talking about death is. No one likes to talk about death. In fact, if there's a party that you're invited to every year and you'd like not to go, this is how you can get out of it. Walk up to someone and say, how are you feeling about your impending death? I once took my mother to an appointment in a hospital complex, and the RN, apparently unaware of her condition, she asked my mom, are you feeling ill? My mom said, well, yes, I have congenitive heart failure. And the nurse put her pencil down and then looked up at her and said, are you in the terminal phase? And my mother, with that little smirky grin that she could give, she says, aren't we all in the terminal phase? You'd think we weren't mortal by the way that the subject of death is kept so confidential. But, as in the case of the hospital, the truth will always surface. A sibling passes from this world, and you're now the oldest, and you wonder. An old college friend retires, and you're forced to admit that if they were in the autumn of your life, you must be too. Why, it was only yesterday that you walk your daughter down the aisle. Where did the time go? You wake up in a hospital's ICU room with the monitor beeping and those little wires attached to your chest. And that's when reality speaks as loud as my Coast Guard drill sergeant. Reality says, you are getting older. You are going to die. You won't outlive everybody. But it seems like just a few years ago, when of all the things that I couldn't count on, the one thing I could count on was my youth, and now that's gone. I mean, I could eat like a horse and not look like one. Do you remember when all of the school teachers were older than you? And professional athletes were the same age as your older brother. Life was this open highway, and death was a millennium away. And now you're worried about having a heart attack while playing a game of charades. You're beginning to feel so old, you don't want to buy green bananas. And that's when we begin to think about death. And although we aren't particularly comfortable with talking about it, God is. Psalm 116, the 15th verse. Precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of his saints. Paul says in Romans 5, verse 14, death reigned from the time of Adam. But as Paul will go on to say, the good news is not anymore. 1 John 3:14, because of the Christ, we have passed from death to life. Revelation 1:8, God's Son holds the keys, the control to death and Hades. And then the Bible ends up in Revelation 21:4. God has a time planned when there will be no more death.